Hey, good morning, everyone. It is 7 a.m. Hello, hello. Good morning, everyone. Hope everyone's having a blessed morning out there, enjoying yourselves. We are in the middle of the week, getting out there and having a great day today and make it what you want it to be. Find ways to get there. And that's the kind of day that we all try to have every single day, I suppose. You get up in the morning and you try to figure out, well, how can I make this day better than I had imagined, or maybe better than yesterday, right? And we all get up with that same joy, or maybe not. Some people just get up and just want to get some coffee and tell everybody to shut up. I do that sometimes, right? I mean, we're all entitled to having our normal emotions come out, right? Sometimes you just don't feel like whatever. I think last week I go through these weird phases, like last week, maybe it was a week before, but I was going through a phase, and I kind of noticed these things about me, and now because I'm older and I can see a pattern better. I'm more clear in my life. I'm more in present time, in the moment, and I can sort of see when I get through certain patterns where I'm creating really nicely and I'm kind of doing the things that I want to do. And then somewhere along the line, it slows down, and I become very uh, stale in producing whatever it is that I'm producing. I become very, very stale. Good morning, Marjorie. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. Hey, Mary. Thank you very much. Welcome, welcome. Hello. Um, so I become very stale, and then I don't realize it. Now I more than I do realize it more than I have in the past, but I go through these kind of moments where I'm kind of a little bit. I started this program because I was in one of those moments. I'm not doing the evening show, the JHS show yet. I'm working out a few details there, especially on the platforms that the show is being shown on. I'm trying to move things around. So, right. So I decided, you know what? Let me do something that kind of shake things up a little bit, and decided to just come on at 7 o'clock in the morning Eastern Standard Time, and put something together that would not only benefit the viewer or the listener on the podcast, but also myself, to get me motivated and to get me connected with people early in the morning, get me up early, living this kind of strange life where we're home now. My office has been closed. My video production office is no more. It's been shut down, and I've moved everything to my house. So I'm home a lot, working, and so I went out last Saturday. I went out for an event that I produced with someone, musical performance, very simple streaming photo, a couple of photos, 2 hour, 2 3 hour gig, and and that was pretty much it, But I'm with the mask all day and or all night, and it was strange. So right now we're living in this weird life where I can, people get up a little bit later than normal, and it's I don't think it's a good thing, and I think I fell into that stale pattern. So and I'm one of these guys that we're going to talk a little bit about that today, about being temperate, right? Where I get very into, I might become a little bit obsessed about certain things to an excess, and I'm better now, but it has happened in the past. And be temperate is the preset from The Way to Happiness, the book that we've been working on, and this is The Way to Happiness by L. Ron Hubbard, written in 1981, I believe. And there's 21 precepts on here, and they're just very basic, simple ways of living your life to improve it. I mean, it's pretty. No one can read any of these and be like, "Well, I disagree with that." It's they're just very, very simple. Or somebody can disagree with it, right? There are people that disagree with rational stuff. We all know that. So temperate. The word temperate. I'm going to give you the definition of temperate because it's not a word that we really use too often. Although it's not. It's not a strange word, but it's so basically temperate means not going to extremes, not overdoing things, controlling one's cravings, right? So this is temperate. So this is number two. So number two says, and I'm just going to read it and then we'll talk a little bit more about it. If anybody has any questions out there or any comments, please just put them into the chat box there. And thank you very much. And here we go. All right. So be temperate. This is there's two sections to this one. So this is 2-1. Do not take harmful drugs. People who take drugs do not always see the world in front of them. They are not really there. On a highway, in casual contact, in a home, they can be very dangerous to you. People mistakenly believe they feel better or act better or are only happy when on drugs. This is just another delusion. Sooner or later, the drugs will destroy them physically. Discourage people from taking drugs. When they are doing so, encourage them to seek help in getting off of them. So that's kind of a one of those things that seems basic, right? But really, I grew up in an environment in the South Bronx where there were a lot of people on drugs, and it didn't seem like anyone really was like, "Hey, stop doing that, stupid." They nobody really. They just kind of they just let them. And how many people did I see completely destroy them, die, like literally just go out and do so much drugs that they are now dead. Um, so a lot of them, people I knew, people I grew up with, which was even the stranger things. When you grow up with someone that you've known since they were 10 years old, and you kind of grow up playing ball and roller skating in our little courtroom. Well, they ended up in a courtroom in a little courtyard that we had, and just kind of having a normal childhood, until you start getting to that age where you start seeing them kind of like going further outside and coming back late or being not looking right, and we're talking young here. We're talking 11 years old, 12, 13, 14. We're talking that age. Um, and and then you kind of distance yourself from them, or I did, because I don't know. Instinctively, I kind of knew that drugs were bad. I don't know why I knew that. I don't think my grandparents ever sat me down. Listen, grandson, I just want to give you a bit of advice here. Don't do crack. It wasn't that kind of a conversation ever. But something in me was knew that it was wrong. And to be honest with you, I do believe that it had a lot to do with Mr. Rogers. I talk about this a lot because my Mr. PBS in New York City, right? The network there came out right around when I was born, right? It's right around that same time. And my grandmother, when they told my grandmother, well, it's educational television, and she heard that in Spanish, it was this channel only has programs that are educational for kids. So my grandmother took that because I was raised mainly by my grandparents, although my mother was in my life and she was wonderful and very supportive, extremely supportive, wonderful woman. But I was mainly with my grandparents, and especially during those really young years. So she would actually just put me in front of the television, watching PBS all day, and that's what I would watch. I didn't know how to change the channel. This was back in the days where you had to physically get up and we had those one of those big giant furniture televisions, and so I would watch Mr. Rogers a lot, and as cliche as it is, I know a lot of people talk about Mr. Rogers, but that he really talks to you in a very gentle way and advises you, and he just seems really he comes through the screen like as a really caring person, and I just felt that, like when he was talking I was listening, Whatever he was saying, I was paying attention to. And I took that very, very seriously for some reason. And then I would watch PBS all day. My grandmother wouldn't change it. So then I'll be watching the McNair-Lair Report and Washington Week. So I would listen, I would learn all about politics and learn how politicians spoke and how they just talked in rhetoric, didn't say anything. They were just like saying, "Well, we're gonna get this. We're gonna make it. We're gonna." Well, how are you gonna do that? It's all right. Just listen to me, okay? We are going to get this done. We're gonna work together because yes, we can. All that stuff, and it's very great. It's motivating, but I remember growing up realizing they're all saying the same thing in different ways, and whoever says it the nicest is or whoever gets the best coverage kind of is the most successful one, right? um so or today you don't even have to be articulate or anything. You can just mumble your way through anything and be fine. um but I grew up watching Mr. Rogers, and his wife just passed recently. I think her name was Joan, I think. Um and she was like 90 something years old. So anyway, that was one of the things that I remember growing up inspiring me to kind of not do drugs and realize that there were certain things that were just I knew I was going to stay away from, even though I was completely surrounded by drugs and drug dealers and murderers. I mean, it was the South Bronx during the 70s where it was constantly in the news. So being temperate in that environment, especially when it came to drugs, was just your demise easily. I've always wanted to work with young troubled kids. So Mary says, I've always wanted to work with young troubled kids and have been tossed aside by their parents. Yeah, have been told, or society. Yeah, it's a wonderful thing to do. And you can do that by literally volunteering. You can volunteer at certain community centers if you have those, um, and just work with kids, especially if you have experiences, which is what I do when I go back to the South Bronx. And I've done things where I've done classes for young people, film classes mainly. In Inglewood, I had this wonderful film workshop that I did for like 2 weeks with something like 21 kids in two different classes, and it was a great experience. And just being able to impart some experience, life experience, kind of the scared straight method, but not without the yelling. Because scared straight came out when I was right at that age where it was supposed to scare me, and it did scare me because I was, afraid for afraid of these dudes. But scared straight. In case anybody doesn't know, it was this. I don't know if it was a movement or it was some type of a program where they would take kids out of school, kids that were troubled, I guess, and bring them to prison and have them speak to prisoners, and the prisoners would basically yell at them and really make them feel uncomfortable, just so they can understand what prison is like and stuff. And it might have worked for some kids. I don't know. It wasn't something that I was like, oh well, I guess now I'm not gonna go to jail. I wasn't planning on going to jail anyway, but we had to sit there and watch some videos on this in school. So I hope it helped some people. But being scared really is not the thing. I mean, you can't scare someone into being good. It's not it's really comes more with the environment, the people that are communicating to them. Um, if anything, the environment is making them feel, but just making them feel invalidated, not good about themselves. I think all those things are the thing. I love kids, and there are so many ways that have one that one who cares enough to deal with them. Yes, they are. You're right. You're right, Mary. There's a lot of different ways. Like my grandparents never yelled at me. I never was hit. I was never hit. Um, when I was a teenager, and I'll tell this story because I don't think I've ever told this story. But when I was a teenager, I came home, or I went out the night before, and I was at a friend's house, and there was no cell phones or anything, and I was hanging out with my friends, and I was embarrassed to go to the phone and say, "Can I call my mom so I can stay over?" Because everybody was going to stay over. It was kind of like a house party or some sort. And I didn't call my mom. I just stayed over. She knew I was there. But when I came home the next day, she flipped on me, and she did hit me. I was already a teenager. I was maybe 14 or 15 years old, and she been that hard, and then she felt horrible, and she cried, and I cried, and I never did anything like that again. Um, it was the only time I think anybody ever did that, and it was well deserved at that point. But my grandparents never hit me as a child. They never really even yelled at me. That I can remember that affected me. It's the same way I'm raising my kids today. I don't yell at my kids. I certainly don't strike my kids. I don't believe in that at all whatsoever. And it's proof that it doesn't work because I've known kids that have gotten beaten, that have gone to jail, have done drugs, have committed horrible, horrible crimes, and they were hit by their parents. Um, so I mean, I know it doesn't work. It may work for some people. I don't know, but it just makes you have a resentment towards your family. I would have a resentment towards family. So anyway, that's just my own two two cents on that. But all right, let's just finish up here. So be temperate. That was number one. Do not take harmful drugs. Number two is do not take alcohol to excess. People who take alcohol are not alert. It impairs their ability to react when it seems to them they are more alert because of it. Alcohol has some medicinal value. It can be grossly overestimated. Don't let anyone who has been drinking drive you in a car or fly you in a plane. Drinking can take lives in more ways than one. A little liquor goes a long way. Don't let too much of it wind up in unhappiness or death. Deter people from excessive drinking. Observing the points above, one becomes more physically able to enjoy life. And I'm not a drinker. I think last year I didn't drink at all. I go years without having a drink, and it's I not that I hate drinking. I don't drink to excess. I've never really done that. Oh, that's not true. When I was a teenager, I think not a teenager, when I was a youngster in my 20s playing music and stuff. I think I did it a couple of times, couple of parties, possibly, but not to the point where I was completely uh and it wasn't an excessive thing where I did it the following week. See, there are people that have to go out and drink. Like when they go out, it's to drink. It's not to do anything else. They go out, we're drinking. We're gonna go to a party, we're drinking. We're gonna go to the movies afterwards, we're drinking. It's Friday night, we're drinking. I mean, it's really insane. It's really insane. Alcohol is very, very uh, it's just a cover, a shield of confidence. It's a shield of everything's okay, and it really is just something to suppress emotions. And when you suppress your emotions with anything, any kind of medication that suppresses your true emotions, will just become dangerous later on. And especially if it gets uncovered. And you look at some of these. I won't even go into psychiatric medications and all that stuff that you see these. It says on the label, right? May cause you to kill yourself or kill, you know, but it doesn't say kill others, right? Because I mean, obviously, that's also what happens, right? These kids go out and shoot up schools, and almost every single case, if you go back in history, you know. So drugs are very, very dangerous. Alcohol can be very dangerous if it's misused and in excess. Um, my grandfather, my grandfather used to drink. Now, my grandfather was one of those wonderful drinkers, right? The more he drank, the more he loved everyone, and he was a loving guy, even sober, right? But a lot quieter, sober, and he spoke a lot more when he was drinking. And me and I have a brother and same mother. We all have the same mother, different fathers. And when they were visiting, and me and my grandparents, he would drink and stuff, and he would play Monster and he'd chase us, and then he usually just lay down on the bed and collapse and fall asleep. And that was kind of our fun, and he was just a loving, very loving guy. But one day he drank I think a little bit too much, and he fell. He fell. He was in front of the bathroom. You have to understand, my grandparents were already almost close to retirement by the time I was even born. By the time I was born, they were close to retirement. I think my grandfather was about my age now when I was born, which is interesting because my son is only 4 years old. So I'm sort of have that viewpoint. But he fell in front of and he would drink every Friday night. Friday night he would drink. He would drink Saturday night. Sunday he would just be in the house. He would not drink on Sunday. He would be completely sober. He would be sleeping a lot of the day, and then Monday morning he'd get right back and go to work. So Monday, uh, Monday mornings, he seemed fine. Like I would hear the clock go off, Spanish radio, W. I forgot the network, but I just remember hearing that man's voice every morning, and he'd be fine on Mondays. But this one day, he apparently overdid it, or maybe he just had a stumble or something. But he fell. He didn't hurt himself, but he was laying down in front of the bathroom, and he looked like he was dead. So I walked down, and I was probably 8 or 9, you know, and I freaked out and I screamed and I go, Grandpa, Papi, I call him Papi, and I start crying and stuff, and he gets up and he looks at my face, how distraught I was and how I was crying and how really, 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 really just upset I was. And he kind of looked at me and he gave me a hug. He's like, okay, okay. And do you know that this man never drank again after that? And he lived to be 95 years old. And for something happened. I guess he really didn't want to upset me. He was a good man, very, very supportive man, loving, and just enjoyed having me around and hearing me talk. And then when I started playing guitar, he would play my records. If I recorded anything, he would come and he would play it, and he would show it to people. He goes, "Oh, this is my name was Tito." Growing up, I was never really called John. So he would play it for, hey, this is Tito. This is Tito. Let me play you a cassette, from Tito. And that's his guitar. That's his guitar, And I would be sometimes in the back, other family or friends visiting, and I'd be like, yeah, that's me. Um, but a very supportive guy. But anyway, that apparently scared him straight, and he just never drank again. I mean, he might have had a little thing here, but he just never drank to the point where, and it was because of that incident. And it was really interesting, where you can really be shocked into giving something up that's harmful for you. When you really realize it, when you really realize that it's hurting somebody, and you really are aware that what your actions affect other people, and you start taking care of those emotions, it really does change. It can really change someone, dramatically, like it did for my grandpa. My grandmother never drank. I don't think I ever saw my grandma holding any kind of alcohol of any type whatsoever. She just never did it. Very wonderful woman as well. She lived to be 96 years old. So anyway, those are the precepts for the way to happiness. And thank you very much for tuning in. Tomorrow is number 3. Tomorrow is don't be promiscuous. So this is actually a very important one, because it does have to do with family, and it's a short one, just one page long. Um, and it has it's very interesting. It's very interesting because you know But anyway, we're going to talk about that tomorrow. So I'm not going to talk about it now because that's tomorrow's. So, all right. So, thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Everybody out there in podcast land, appreciate you very much. You can check out my podcast on Spotify and all other streaming platforms for podcasts. And for all of you that are here live, thank you very much. I appreciate you, and all of you that are watching later on in the replay of this video. I appreciate you. Please go to my YouTube channel also, and you can subscribe there to the channel, or just right here on the page, wherever you're watching it. Just keep on doing that. Thank you. All right, folks. Have a wonderful day. God bless you. Take care of yourselves. Make it a great day. Do the things that you love. Make goals on. If you're not doing enough of what you love, then make a plan to figure out how you're going to do more of what you love and get that done. And if you need any help, you can always email me at johnhenrysoto@protonmail.com. I'll be more than happy to help you out. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful day. God bless you. See you tomorrow. And as always, peace.